Happiness is not something you can find in ideal conditions. The world keeps turning, and there always seems to be a reason for you to feel like you're not enough. You hear success stories, witness others achieving the goals you're chasing, and you begin to think happiness can only come when you've completed all those goals, but the reality is completely different. I used to be like that, chasing the expectations of society, thinking I would find happiness when everything went smoothly, stable job, happy family, solid finances. But you know what? The longer I waited for those ideal conditions, the emptier I felt. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and this is what I learned. Happiness is not something that comes after you achieve success, but the ability to feel satisfaction in the small moments, wherever you are, with whatever you have. When things aren't perfect, happiness can still be found. This isn't about avoiding reality or deceiving yourself, but about changing the way you perceive things. From my perspective, happiness is not the destination, it's the journey, a process you create in your thoughts and actions every day. I used to chase the goal I thought would bring me happiness, but I realized I was overlooking something more important, the ability to control how I react to life. In fact, not every moment has to be perfect for you to feel its value. You don't even need to change the world around you to feel fulfilled. All you need is a change in how you perceive and feel about yourself. Imagine waking up each morning and instead of focusing on what you can't change, you focus on what you can control. A new day will feel much more pleasant if you start from within. You don't need to change the world, you just need to change how you think about it. Don't let external factors decide your emotions. The small, simple things you do every day will make a huge difference. Your morning routine, how you talk to yourself, how you evaluate challenges, all of these can change how you feel about happiness. I've experimented a lot with myself. Every day, I not only try to achieve big goals, but also pay attention to small moments. It might be a morning cup of coffee, a few minutes listening to a favorite song, or simply the feeling of taking a deep breath and relaxing. Sometimes it's these seemingly insignificant things that help me feel happiness. And you can do the same. Happiness doesn't come from achieving a goal. It comes from changing the way you perceive challenges in life. Life will never be a series of perfect moments, but you can create a meaningful life in what you already have. We can't control everything around us, but we can control how we react, and that's what matters most. If you feel like you're not enough, don't worry. We all have moments like that. But what matters is not letting those moments define your life. Instead of chasing perfection, start recognizing the value in what you have. Happiness won't come naturally. You have to create it from what you have in your hands. I used to be someone who always found reasons not to be happy. But when I learned to see life differently, I realized everything could be beautiful. You don't need everything to feel happiness. You just need to change your perspective on the world and yourself. So if you're feeling like you're not enough, remember that you don't need to be perfect to feel happy. Happiness is a choice you can make every day. Don't wait for the world to change. Change how you perceive everything, and the world around you will change the way you want. Choose happiness today, no matter what the world is like. If you found this message useful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Start changing today, because you are the one who decides your life. I used to believe that happiness would only come when everything in my life was stable. I thought that one day work wouldn't be stressful, finances wouldn't be an issue, and relationships would be easier. I expected a life without turbulence, without challenges, just peace and stability. But I was wrong. Happiness is not something you find when you reach the perfect stability you imagine. The truth is, there is no perfect stability in life, and if you wait for everything to stabilize, you will miss happiness forever. We all think happiness is the destination, that it's a perfect moment we'll experience when work, family, and everything in life is stable. But that's not the case. Happiness is not a destination, it's a process, a journey you have to continuously seek in each moment of life. When I realized this, I started to understand that there is no perfect time to feel happiness. The truth is, happiness comes from how you face challenges, how you overcome difficulties, and how you accept that life is never perfect. Every day brings new challenges, new hardships, and you might have to face failures, but instead of seeing them as bad, you can see them as opportunities to learn, grow, and get closer to happiness. Every challenge, whether hard or easy, offers you valuable lessons, and those lessons are the real key to true happiness. I used to live with the belief that happiness would come when I achieved big goals, when I had the perfect job, an ideal family, and stable finances. But when I achieved those things, I realized I didn't feel as happy as I thought I would. Why? Because I had placed too many expectations on a perfect image of life, and when life didn't go the way I wanted, I felt incomplete and disappointed. Happiness is not something you achieve when everything is perfect. It's something you feel in moments when you learn to face and overcome challenges. True happiness doesn't come from achieving big goals. It comes from living with small goals, simple but meaningful things. Moments of satisfaction when you complete a task, when you laugh with friends, when you spend time with family. Those moments are the source of happiness. Happiness is not a grand destination, but an ongoing process of finding contentment in the simple things in life. What I'm looking for is not perfect stability, but the ability to find joy in the small things. From accepting that life will always have challenges, and from learning how to face those challenges calmly and confidently. Every time I face difficulty, I see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. And these lessons help me feel content with life despite the challenges I face. If you're waiting for everything to be perfect to feel happiness, you will never feel enough. Life is never perfect, and happiness doesn't come from a perfect life. Happiness comes from the ability to view and assess life with an open mind and gratitude. It comes from accepting that life doesn't always go according to plan, and that every challenge brings an opportunity for us to grow and progress. Happiness is not something you will find at the end of the road when you achieve your goals. Happiness is something you create throughout the journey. You will never find happiness if you're only looking for it in ideal conditions. Instead of waiting for everything to stabilize, you need to start feeling happiness in every moment, even when things aren't perfect. How you face challenges, how you perceive life, is the key factor in whether or not you can feel happiness. When you start accepting that life will never be perfect, you'll realize that happiness is not a destination. It's part of the journey. Every day, every moment, you can feel happiness if you choose to live with gratitude and see life in a different way. We may not be able to control everything that happens out there, but we can control how we react to it. And it's your reactions, how you face and overcome difficulties, that will decide the level of happiness you experience. When I realized that happiness isn't something that comes after everything is stable, I started changing how I see life. I no longer wait for ideal conditions. I focus on the small moments, the simple things, and the lessons I learn from life. Happiness comes from those little things, from how you perceive challenges and how you face them. That's how you find peace and contentment in your life. You can start changing how you see life today. Don't wait for everything to stabilize. Start seeing challenges as opportunities to learn and grow. Find happiness in every moment, no matter what life throws at you. Because only when you do that will you truly find the happiness you deserve. This life is full of factors you cannot control. Others, circumstances, the changes in the world around you. These things can always affect you, but there is one important thing you must realize. You can control yourself. This is not just a theory or empty philosophy. It's a truth that can change your life. How you react to every situation, how you handle your emotions, and how you face challenges are things you can fully control. I have faced situations where I couldn't do anything to change them. Throughout my career, from the challenges in building SpaceX to the early struggles of developing Tesla, I couldn't control the outside factors. I couldn't control the market. I couldn't control government changes or competitors. But I could always control how I responded to those challenges. This doesn't mean I never felt frustrated or discouraged, but I learned how not to let those negative emotions control me. If you understand that you can control yourself, you will never feel powerless when facing difficulties. The feeling of failure only comes when you allow it to dominate your thoughts and actions. Successful people aren't those who have never failed. They are those who know how to react when failure strikes. When I began to realize that I could control how I perceive and respond, I truly grasped the power to change everything around me. I know that even though there are factors you can't change, you can always control yourself. Every decision you make, every action you take, comes from how you think and feel. Your thoughts and emotions will determine where you go, what you do, and how you face challenges. The reality is, every day you must make important decisions. It could be the decision to keep going despite failure, or the decision to stop when everything feels too difficult. All these decisions come from you. Certainly, you cannot change what has already happened, but you can change how you perceive and respond to what has happened. If you let external factors control your emotions and actions, you will always feel lost. But when you realize that all you can do is control yourself, you will see that happiness and success are truly in your hands. Life doesn't always go according to plan, but that's not a reason to feel disappointed or give up. Failure is not the end. Failure is a lesson. Every time I face a failure, I don't let myself fall. I learn from that failure, find ways to improve, and try again. I never allow failure to decide my life. Failure is just a step in the process of growth, and you can choose to learn from it instead of letting it discourage you. When I started SpaceX, no one believed we could succeed. Everyone thought we would fail, that sending people to Mars was impossible. But I didn't let those criticisms affect me. I focused only on what I could control: my team, how we worked, how we faced each challenge. I didn't allow external factors to affect how I ran the company. And as a result, SpaceX achieved accomplishments that many never thought were possible. That's a prime example of controlling yourself in a turbulent environment. How I handle each failure, each obstacle, is something I can control. You may face situations you can't change, but you can always control how you respond and act in those situations. When you realize this, you will no longer feel powerless or pressured by external factors. How you perceive the world is the only thing you can control. When you change your perspective, you will change your life. I've learned that when you control how you respond to life, you will achieve things you never thought possible. Success, happiness, and satisfaction don't come from changing everything around you, but from changing how you face them. Life is not always easy, but when you understand that everything you need to overcome difficulties is within you, you will feel much stronger. Don't let circumstances decide who you are. Decide for yourself. Control how you act and react. That's true power. If you can control yourself, you can control everything in your life. You can change how you think, how you act, and even how you perceive challenges. And when you can do that, nothing can stop you from achieving what you want. Happiness is something intangible but incredibly important. I've worked with amazing people, individuals with extraordinary talents, but sometimes even they don't feel happy. I ask myself, why does this happen? They have everything others dream of: stable jobs, solid finances, good relationships, yet they still don't feel fulfilled. The answer lies in a very simple point that's often hard to recognize. Happiness doesn't come from what you have, but from how you perceive what you have and how you face life. Many people are waiting for something big to change their feelings of inadequacy. They think that when they achieve this goal or own that thing, they will be happy. But what they don't realize is that happiness isn't something you can own after achieving a certain milestone. True happiness comes from within, from how you adjust your thoughts and emotions. I used to be like that. I thought happiness would come when I achieved this goal, when I succeeded in my work, when I had everything I thought would make my life perfect. But the truth is, even when I achieved those things, I didn't feel as happy as I thought I would. I realized that when I waited for everything to be perfect, I missed the most important moment. Happiness is a choice you must make every day, not a destination. When we look at those around us, many still feel inadequate even though they have everything. They feel unhappy despite achieving the goals that many others long for. Why is that? The reason is very simple. They're looking for happiness outside, in things they can't control, instead of finding it within themselves. They think happiness comes from the perfection of life, from owning perfect things. But the truth is, happiness doesn't come from things outside of you. It comes from how you face yourself and the world around you. Many people don't feel happy because they're always focused on things they can't change. They look at the imperfections in life and let those things dominate their emotions. They compare themselves to others, and in that comparison, they always feel inadequate. This is not the right choice. If you keep looking at things you can't control, you will always feel like you're not enough. Happiness comes from knowing how to choose, how to see the good things, and learning how to face difficulties without letting them hold you back. What I realized is that happiness doesn't come from what you have, but from how you perceive what you have. A person may have everything, But if they don't know how to appreciate the value of those things, they will never feel happy. Happiness is the ability to recognize and cherish the small things in life rather than just searching for the grand things. You may not be able to control everything, but you can always control how you perceive life and how you face challenges. One of the biggest reasons many people feel unhappy is because they don't know how to face failure. Failure is a part of life, and if you don't learn how to face failure, you will never feel fulfilled. They see failure as something bad, but I think it's one of the most important lessons in life. It's those failures that have helped me grow and work more effectively. When you know how to see failure as an opportunity to learn, you will never feel defeated. Instead, you will find a way to get up and keep moving forward. Happiness is not something you achieve just once. It's a continuous process that you must maintain. You must learn to see life from a positive perspective, no matter what the circumstances are. This doesn't mean you won't face difficulties or challenges, but it means you will know how to face them without letting them pull you down. Every day is an opportunity for you to improve yourself, to view life with gratitude and appreciation. You don't need to have everything to be happy. You just need to know how to appreciate what you have and face life with calmness and confidence. Another reason many people feel unhappy is that they live too much under the expectations and pressure of society. They think they must live a perfect life, must achieve great accomplishments to be recognized. But I think this is a trap we create for ourselves. You don't need to live according to the expectations of others. Your life is yours, and you have the right to choose your own path. True happiness comes from living true to yourself, not from living up to what society expects. Finally, happiness is not something you can find in one day, one event, or one success. Happiness is a process. It's learning how to face life with calmness and positivity. When you change your perception of life, you will begin to realize that happiness is always there, right in the small things. Don't wait until everything is perfect to seek happiness. Start from the moments you're living. Don't let life pass by without recognizing its true value. Happiness is a choice, and you are the one who decides whether you can be happy or not. How you perceive life, how you face challenges, is the deciding factor. When you learn to cherish the small things, you'll realize that happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey you can walk every day. Happiness is not something you can achieve after completing a big project or reaching a great milestone in your career. It's not something that can be bought with money or power. I've learned that even though there are great accomplishments you can achieve in life, they are not the source of happiness. I've achieved a lot in my work, building great companies, but not every moment has made me feel happy. Happiness isn't the result of big goals. It's the result of living a meaningful life, of finding satisfaction in small moments and simple things. When I started SpaceX, no one believed we could succeed. From the beginning, I faced countless challenges. There were times I thought I wouldn't make it, moments of extreme stress and failure. But I realized that happiness doesn't come from hitting major milestones, it comes from how you face those difficulties. Happiness comes from the ability to view challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, not from the perfection of the final result. Throughout this journey, I learned an important lesson. True happiness comes from things you can't measure by achievements or timelines, but from the feeling you get when you work with passion, dedication, and gratitude. Looking back at my life, I see that I've achieved many things I didn't think I could, but those accomplishments are not what made me happy. Instead, what brings me fulfillment are the moments when I learned something new or when I saw positive changes in the people around me. Happiness isn't a destination, it's the experience of the journey. A person can achieve everything they want in life, but if they don't know how to enjoy the journey, they will never feel happy. I used to live in a world where I always focused on big goals, thinking that when I achieved them, I would feel fulfilled. But I realized that fulfillment doesn't last long. When you place too many expectations on big accomplishments, you will always feel inadequate if those things don't come as you hoped. Happiness doesn't come from achieving this or that, but from how you live in the present, from how you choose to do meaningful things, regardless of whether they are big or small. True happiness is the ability to recognize and feel the value in each moment, in life's simple things. That might be spending time with family, it could be a moment when you feel proud of your work, or simply seeing someone else succeed because of your help. These are the things that truly bring you happiness. Happiness isn't about owning wealth, fame, or power. It comes from living with purpose and true values. When you reach a major milestone, you may feel proud for a moment, but that feeling will quickly fade. I experienced this when Tesla achieved great success in producing electric cars. Just when I thought I would feel happy about it, I realized that satisfaction didn't last. True happiness doesn't come from conquering peaks, but from how you live with passion and purpose throughout the journey. When you understand this, you will never feel inadequate or insufficient because you've learned to find happiness in the process, not just in the outcome. Accomplishments are not what measure happiness. I've seen many people achieve great success in life, but still not feel satisfied. When they look back, they realize they missed important moments in life because they were always racing toward big accomplishments. In fact, it's the small things that make a huge difference in how we perceive life. A smile from a loved one, a thank you from a colleague, or the feeling when you overcome a challenge at work, these are the things that truly bring happiness. Happiness doesn't come from what you have, but from how you perceive what you have. You may not have everything, but if you know how to appreciate what you have, you will feel fulfilled. That's an important lesson I've learned throughout my life. When you don't place too much expectation on big achievements, you'll be able to enjoy the small things life offers. And it's those small things that bring you joy and happiness. Accomplishments are just a part of the journey, not the final destination. If you live only to achieve this or that goal, you will never feel complete. You will always think there's something far ahead you need to reach. But happiness isn't something you have to wait for. It's something you can create every day from how you live and how you perceive life. I know life isn't always easy, but what's important is not letting challenges make you feel lacking. You may not control the external factors, but you can control how you react to them. And when you learn to find happiness in small things, you'll realize you don't need everything to feel whole. True happiness comes from living with purpose and passion, not from great achievements. Many people think that to change your life, you need to take great steps, make big decisions, but the truth is, most of the big changes in life begin with small habits that you build every day. I've learned that a small habit, if maintained and developed over time, can make a huge difference. Throughout the journey of developing my companies from Tesla to SpaceX, I realized that habits are the key factor in whether you can achieve big goals. The journey of building SpaceX wasn't always smooth. Failures, challenges, and obstacles were part of life. But what I learned is that no matter how many difficulties you face, a positive habit, even a small one, can help you maintain spirit, perseverance, and motivation. We can't change everything right away, but if each day you do one small positive thing, it will lead to significant change in the future. When I started working with Tesla, the people around me thought I couldn't do it. From doubt to skepticism, everything seemed impossible. But I persisted, knowing that a small habit, doing a little bit of work every day, would gradually help me reach my big goal. It might be reviewing data, improving a small detail in design, or simply taking time for insightful conversations with my team. All those small habits contributed to creating a big change in both the company and my life. But habits are not just about work. They also relate to how you manage your time, how you take care of yourself, and how you face challenges in life. Every morning, I begin my day with a small but important habit. I take a few minutes to think about what I want to accomplish that day. This helps me stay focused and determined instead of being swept away by unexpected situations. A small habit like this can make a big difference in how you work and in the results you achieve. Not everyone understands the power of small habits. I once said that life is a series of habits built over time. What you do every day determines who you are and what you can achieve. If you let your life pass without actively building positive habits, you'll find yourself stuck in a cycle. But if you take the initiative to create good habits, you'll be amazed by what you can achieve in the future. Small but consistent actions every day will lead to big changes. Think about exercising. A person can't get a healthy body after one intense workout. But if you train every day, a little bit each day, after a long time, your body will become stronger. Similarly, good habits in work or life will have long-term effects if you maintain them consistently. Patience and persistence in practicing small habits will help you achieve great results in the future. A small habit, like taking a few minutes to review your goals and progress every day, can help you maintain focus and motivation. It not only keeps you on track, but also helps you face difficulties, failures, without letting them defeat you. If you can view failures as opportunities to learn and improve, you'll see that these challenges aren't obstacles, but stepping stones that help you move forward. The power of small habits lies not only in helping you make progress, but also in maintaining stability and endurance in your work and life. One reason I can maintain perseverance in my major projects is due to simple but highly effective habits. They create a solid structure, helping me face every challenge without feeling overwhelmed. What's important is realizing that big changes don't come from great strides, but from building and maintaining small habits in everyday life. You can't change your life through one big decision, but you can change your life through small, repeated actions every day. These small actions, when maintained consistently, will create major changes in the future. The small habit could be planning for the next day every evening. You'll be surprised at how much more effective your workday will be with a simple habit with clear goals and specific steps. This doesn't just help you work more effectively, but also makes you feel confident and proactive in life. Moreover, small habits help you maintain balance in life. No matter how busy work is, taking time for family and yourself is an important habit. Habits like these not only help reduce stress, but also maintain good relationships with those around you. When you take care of yourself and maintain healthy habits, you'll find that your energy and creativity are renewed, and you'll be ready to face any challenge. I've realized that a small habit, though simple, can have the power to change your entire life. That's why I always focus on building positive habits, whether in work or personal life. These habits aren't grand actions you can do once, but things you do every day, making a difference over time. And when you realize the power of small habits, you'll see that you can change your life in ways you never imagined. In life, many people live in a state of never feeling enough. They look at what they haven't achieved, what they don't have, and that's all that dominates their thoughts. This view not only makes you feel inadequate, but also prevents you from seeing the value around you. I was once like that. I used to focus only on big goals, on the great achievements I had to accomplish. But I realized that when you begin to practice gratitude, everything around you begins to change in ways you never expected. You'll realize that life isn't lacking, it's full if you know how to perceive it. I'm not talking about simple gratitude like thanking someone when they do something nice for you. True gratitude is a state of mind, an approach to life. It's the ability to look at everything in life through a different lens. When you practice gratitude, you not only recognize the positive things, but also see value in difficult moments. It's how you learn to appreciate what you have instead of just looking at what you don't have. Gratitude isn't a temporary feeling, it's a habit, a way of living, and when you apply it every day, you will see yourself change from within. The truth is, many people only see difficulties in every situation. When they face challenges, they only see obstacles and failure, forgetting that every challenge is truly an opportunity to learn. When I started SpaceX, there were countless failures and uncertainties. But instead of seeing them as insurmountable problems, I saw them as valuable lessons. Every failure helped me understand the issue better, allowing me to find solutions. And I realized that if I hadn't practiced gratitude for these difficulties, I would never have been able to achieve the success I wanted. Moreover, when you start being grateful for challenges, you will feel less stressed and be able to solve problems more wisely. Gratitude helps you change how you perceive the world. It not only changes how you look at difficulties, but also changes how you face all circumstances in life. When you feel gratitude, you will feel fuller. You will realize that there are countless wonderful things in life that you can appreciate, from your health to the people around you, to the opportunities you have to learn and grow. Gratitude isn't about waiting for good things to happen to feel happy. It's about recognizing and appreciating the good things you already have in life. I understand that in a world full of challenges and constant change, it's hard to maintain positivity and gratitude. We often get caught up in the whirlwind of work, financial worries, and complicated relationships. But what's important is that in every day you live, there are small things you can be grateful for. It could be waking up healthy, having a loving family, having work to do, or having companions in life. When you stop and practice gratitude for these things, you will feel lighter, and every difficulty will become more bearable. One of the habits I maintain every day is taking time to reflect on what I've achieved, no matter how small. Every morning, I start my day by thinking about what I'm grateful for. It could be a beautiful morning, a new idea, or an interesting conversation. This helps me begin the day with a positive attitude and be ready to face any challenge. When you practice gratitude, not only do you feel better, but you'll also easily achieve your goals because you have a clear and strong mindset. Gratitude can also change how you view relationships in life. When you practice gratitude for those around you, you will realize that they are not just people who support you, but they are also the ones who help you learn and grow. Instead of focusing on their flaws, you will see them as an essential part of your life. Gratitude not only helps you appreciate others, but also helps you maintain meaningful, lasting relationships. I also realized that gratitude not only makes me feel better, but also helps me solve problems better. When you view every situation through the lens of gratitude, you'll see that every difficulty and challenge is just an opportunity for you to learn. Those difficulties are not something to avoid, but something to face with a clear and calm mind. Gratitude helps you maintain perseverance and motivation, even when everything around you seems tough. When you feel grateful for what you have, you'll never feel deprived or desperate. Moreover, gratitude helps you reduce stress and anxiety. When you feel grateful, you're no longer obsessed with what you don't have or what you can't control. Instead, you focus on the positive things, the things you can change. This helps you focus on what truly matters and minimize stress from external factors. Gratitude is a powerful tool that helps you maintain peace of mind, even in the most difficult times. With all these things, gratitude is not just a temporary feeling, but a way of life. If you can practice gratitude every day, you will find that life becomes easier, more enjoyable, and more fulfilling. Gratitude helps you see life from a different perspective, helping you realize that everything, even the smallest things, is valuable. And when you learn how to practice gratitude, you'll see that any circumstance, whether difficult or favorable, can bring value to you. Start with the smallest things, those things you can easily overlook. Be grateful for the simple moments, the small achievements you've made, and when you do that, you'll begin to feel the change in how you perceive life. Gratitude not only changes you, but it changes how you face every situation in life. When life pushes you into difficult situations and you feel so tired that you can't go on, the most important thing is to remember what you've already achieved, what you've overcome. Fatigue is unavoidable. It comes from work, from personal life, from relationships, or even from decisions you have to make every day. But I've learned that when you feel exhausted, instead of just focusing on the current difficulties, stop and recall what you've accomplished, what you've already overcome. You'll be amazed at the strength this awareness can bring. My life, from the beginning of SpaceX to Tesla, has always been full of challenges. I can't count how many times I felt so tired I wanted to give up. But in those moments, I realized that exhaustion isn't a sign of failure, but part of the process. If you only focus on the feeling of fatigue, you won't see the wonderful things you've achieved, the accomplishments you've made. The key is to change your perspective. When I started SpaceX, I had to face countless difficulties. From lack of funding to skepticism from everyone, no one believed we could succeed. But instead of just looking at those obstacles, I chose to look back at what we had achieved. I began to see small progress, steps that seemed insignificant, but were the solid foundation for later success. When I felt exhausted, I didn't focus on the current difficulties, but remembered why I started. That helped me get through the hardest times. The feeling of exhaustion can make you feel like everything is falling apart around you. But if you take a moment to stop and reflect on what you've already achieved, you'll realize that you've come a long way. Not only have you overcome challenges, but you've learned a lot from those difficulties. Every step, no matter how small, contributes to ultimate success. And if you can do that, you'll realize that fatigue isn't a reason to stop, but an opportunity to look back at what you've accomplished. When I worked with Tesla, there were times when everything seemed impossible to continue. Everyone said we wouldn't be able to produce electric cars successfully, but instead of just looking at the difficulties, I looked at what we had accomplished. We created an electric car that no one thought could be produced. We overcame countless technical and financial challenges to bring the product to market. And when I look back at those achievements, I realized that fatigue is just part of the process. The key is to stay focused on the goal and never give up, no matter how you feel. To maintain motivation when you feel exhausted, you must know how to reflect on the good things in life. This not only helps you maintain perseverance, but also helps you recharge to continue. You don't have to do everything at once. Instead, look at what you've completed and feel proud of those small progressions. Every day you can create results, no matter how small. But if you accumulate them, you will see great change. Being grateful for what you've achieved is a great way to get through tough times. You may not have everything you want, but you can be grateful for what you have. Every step forward, no matter how small, is worth acknowledging. You may not accomplish all your goals right away, but what you've done is worth being proud of. When you practice gratitude for these achievements, you'll feel stronger and more motivated to continue. Every time you feel tired, stop and ask yourself, what have I accomplished today? You'll be amazed at what you can do when you look at things this way. You'll see that you haven't failed, you're just in a continuous process of growth. This helps you realize that everything you do matters, and every difficulty is just a part of the long journey towards a greater goal. Remember, fatigue is not a reason to quit. It's just a signal that you've come a long way and need a little rest to recharge. Don't let fatigue make you give up. Instead, look at what you've achieved and feel proud. When you feel tired, rest, but don't quit. What matters is that you keep moving forward, even if it's just small steps. Finally, remember that what you've achieved is incredibly valuable. You don't need everything to feel satisfied. Look at what you've achieved, the accomplishments you've created, and the lessons you've learned. When you are grateful for these things, you will feel stronger and more motivated to continue your journey. Life doesn't always go the way you expect. It's full of difficulties, failures, and unexpected challenges. You can't avoid them, and sometimes you'll feel overwhelmed by things not going your way. But there is one thing you can control, and that's the story you tell about your life. I've learned that when you practice gratitude, you can change the story in your head, and when you change that story, you change the way you see everything around you. Gratitude is not just a feeling, but a powerful tool that helps you reshape the way you think and feel about the world. We can easily get caught up in negative stories about ourselves and our lives. These stories often start from failures, from things we can't control. But when you change how you view things and begin practicing gratitude, you'll realize those stories are not absolute truths. They are just temporary thoughts, and you have the power to change them. I faced countless challenges throughout my career. When I started SpaceX, most people thought we would fail. We encountered many failures in our early rocket test, and I could have let those failures define my story. But instead of letting those failures become the dominant story in my head, I chose a different approach. I started practicing gratitude for the lessons I learned from each failure. I knew that every failure was just a step on the path to success, and I wouldn't let them define my value or the company's. Gratitude helped me see that difficulties aren't failures but opportunities for me to learn and grow. Every time we failed, I asked myself, what is this teaching me? And instead of thinking of failure as an end, I made it an opportunity to adjust, try again, and improve. The story in my head changed. I no longer saw each failure as a collapse, but as a valuable lesson. Gratitude helped me change how I perceived and dealt with life's challenges. Gratitude also helped me maintain positivity during difficult times. Things don't always go as planned. Every day I face new challenges, situations I can't predict. But I've realized that instead of focusing on the things I can control, I'll focus on what I can control, how I react to them. Gratitude helps me recognize the small things I can appreciate instead of only looking at the big things I don't have. It helps me stay focused on what matters and keeps me moving forward, even when I feel tired or challenged. One of the biggest changes that gratitude brought to me is how it changed my relationships with those around me. When I started practicing gratitude in my relationships, I realized that I wasn't just grateful for what others did for me, but also for myself and my contributions. In the workplace, we had heated debates, times when I don't agree with my colleagues. But when I started practicing gratitude, I didn't just focus on the disagreements, but also on their contributions, their creativity, and how they helped the company move forward. The story in my head changed. I no longer saw relationships as a series of arguments, but as an opportunity to learn and improve. Gratitude not only changes the story in your head, but also changes how you interact with the world. You no longer let external factors affect your mood and thoughts. When you are grateful for what you have, you'll realize that you're not lacking. You'll feel full, even if you may not have everything you desire. But in this fullness, you'll find the strength to face challenges and achieve the goals you set. Gratitude will help you realize that life is not always easy, but it's always worth it. When you practice gratitude, you not only change how you view things that happen in life, but also change how you perceive yourself. Gratitude helps you recognize your own value and what you've done. When you're grateful for yourself, you'll feel more confident, and you won't easily give up. Gratitude helps you keep your spirit up in the face of difficulties because you'll always remember that you've overcome many challenges before, and you have the ability to keep going. I've said before that success is not something you can measure with numbers or big accomplishments. Success comes from how you face challenges, how you never give up, and how you view life every day. And one of the best ways to do this is by practicing gratitude. Gratitude helps you see everything through a positive lens, helping you find satisfaction in the small things and developing a strong spirit. Remember, the story you tell about your life is not something that's set in stone. You have the power to change it, and gratitude is a powerful tool to do so. When you begin practicing gratitude, you'll realize that you not only change how you perceive life, but also how you live. Gratitude is not just an emotion, but a way of life, a philosophy you can apply every day to change the story in your mind. Every day brings an opportunity for you to win, not the big wins, but the small wins that are incredibly important. They create the foundation for the big successes that come later. When I look back at what I've achieved, I realize that not every victory came from giant leaps, but from doing a little each day, persevering and never giving up. I've learned that every day is an opportunity to take another step, even if it's small, toward the bigger goal. When I started working with Tesla, no one thought we could produce a reliable electric car capable of competing with gasoline vehicles. Everything seemed to be against us, from technology, costs, to skepticism from people in the industry. But instead of focusing on the big challenges, I focused on the small victories, the steps that seemed insignificant, but were the prerequisites for making big changes. Every time we improved a small detail in technology, every time we improved the production process, it was a victory. And those victories led us to the big successes we achieved later. When I look at the accomplishments I've made, I don't think about the big breakthroughs or the milestones I reached. Instead, I think about the days I woke up and worked hard, even when things seemed tough. The days I didn't know if we could overcome the challenges, but I still decided to continue. Every day you wake up and commit to doing your best, that's a victory. It's perseverance and determination, not waiting for big wins, but recognizing the small wins every day. We often think that big success comes from grand actions, breakthrough decisions. But I've learned that true success comes from maintaining consistency, from doing small things every day. A small habit you maintain every morning can create a big change in the future. Just like building a product, every small detail contributes to creating a complete product. A rocket can't take off without the smallest parts in its design. And similarly, a life can't be fulfilled without small victories every day. Think about the small victories you can achieve every day. It could be working hard even when no one is watching, or it could be persevering toward a goal that others think is impossible to achieve. You might not see immediate results, but every small action you take is a step toward your big goal. I always believe that if you can do the small things well, you'll have the ability to do great things. The key to success is not waiting for great moments, but recognizing and celebrating the small victories. Every step forward, no matter how small, is an important part of the long journey. No big victory can be achieved without small victories built over time. So whenever you feel tired, whenever you feel like you're not making progress, remember that your small wins each day are the bricks that make up the big success. Those victories not only bring you closer to your goals, but also help you maintain motivation. One day, when you look back, you'll see that your small wins have created a big change in your life. You can't predict the impact of each small victory, but each one makes a difference. It's the accumulation of small victories over time that leads to significant change. When you maintain perseverance and never give up, you'll realize that every day can be a victory, and those victories will accumulate into great success. Don't wait for a big change to feel proud of yourself. Learn to be proud of the small victories. It could be overcoming a challenge at work, or simply remaining calm in a stressful situation. Those victories, no matter how small, are progress and have value. When you learn to recognize and celebrate the small victories, you'll feel stronger and more motivated to continue. Success is not a destination, it's a journey, and that journey is created by small victories every day. I've seen too many people focus only on the big goal and forget that the small, daily things are the foundation for success. You don't need to achieve a big milestone to feel proud of yourself. Instead, look at what you've accomplished every day, no matter how small, and be proud of the progress you've made. When I look back at my journey, I don't remember the big milestones I achieved, but I remember the days I worked tirelessly to keep up the momentum, the days I persisted even when things weren't easy. Every small victory I achieved along the way helped me move closer to my bigger goal. And I know that if you can make small victories every day, you too will go a long way and achieve your big goals. Finally, remember that every day can be a victory. Small victories not only make a difference in your work, but also in your life. Don't wait for a big change to feel proud of yourself. Celebrate your small wins every day. And when you look back, you'll realize that those victories have created a meaningful and successful life. One of the biggest mistakes people often make in life is waiting for a perfect day to feel happy. They think that when work is stable, when the family is harmonious, when finances are no longer an issue, they will feel happy. But the truth is, happiness is not a destination you have to wait to reach. Happiness is a state you can choose every day, no matter what circumstances are around you. Throughout my journey building my companies from SpaceX to Tesla, I've faced numerous challenges. Failures, stressful periods, times when I thought I couldn't continue. All of them were part of the process I had to go through. But I realized that if I kept waiting for a day when everything would be perfect, I would never feel happy. Happiness is not something you achieve after solving all problems, but rather the awareness and choice to live with what you have, even when everything isn't perfect. One clear example I can share is the early days of starting SpaceX. I faced immense doubt from all sides. From investors to aerospace experts, everyone thought I was doing a crazy job. The repeated failures in rocket launches, costs exceeding the budget, and sleepless days left me exhausted. But in those tiring moments, I didn't stop to search for a perfect day. I just focused on the next step. I understood that each challenge, each failure, was an essential part of the journey to success. And I learned that instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, I needed to enjoy the process and be grateful for the lessons each step brought. True happiness comes from accepting that life is never perfect and that those imperfections are part of life that you need to cherish. We are often easily trapped by the perfectionism trap. Society often presents us with an ideal image of a happy life, but that doesn't truly exist. People may have successful careers, harmonious families, but that doesn't mean they don't face challenges or hardships. Happiness is not a destination you must strive to achieve, but satisfaction in the journey. The ability to accept everything imperfect and live with gratitude for what you have. The way I view this in my work is, don't wait for everything to be perfect to act. Don't wait for a day when all conditions are ideal. You must be ready to accept imperfection and start with what you have. When I started SpaceX, I didn't have ideal conditions to succeed. We didn't have much money, we didn't have a large team, and we didn't even have great facilities. But the important thing was that my team and I didn't wait for the perfect day to begin. We got to work right then with what we had and were always ready to adjust, improve, and learn from mistakes. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and if you always wait for a perfect day to feel happy, you will miss many opportunities. If you just live waiting, you will never experience the joy in the process. In each small step you take, success doesn't come from a giant leap, but from persistence, progress every day, even if it's small. I've also learned that tired and imperfect days have their own value. When I feel exhausted, I remind myself why I started. The feeling of fatigue is a sign that you're trying, fighting, and moving forward. Instead of thinking, I need to wait for a better day to feel happy, I decided to enjoy the process no matter how tiring or difficult it was. I realized that there is no perfect day, but every day can be a small victory if you know how to see it. Happiness is not a big event, but the moments in life that you choose to enjoy. You don't need to achieve every goal. You don't need everything to be perfect to feel happy. Happiness comes from acceptance, from gratitude, and from the ability to live fully in the present. When you don't wait for ideal conditions, you will realize that you already have everything you need to feel happy right now. Throughout my career, I never waited for a perfect day to act. Especially in difficult times, when everything seemed like it couldn't go on, I always found a way to move forward, no matter how imperfect everything seemed. I didn't wait for everything to fall into place before starting, and I realized that this is part of success. You can't wait for a perfect day. You have to make a great day out of what you already have. If you wait for everything to be perfect to feel happy, you will never experience true happiness. Happiness comes from enjoying the journey, from living with passion and being grateful for what you have in the present. Don't let life pass you by just because you're waiting for a perfect day. Start today and you'll see that life is truly worth living even if it's not perfect. Happiness is a choice, and it starts with accepting the imperfections of life. Happiness is a concept that we all pursue, but perhaps few realize that success and happiness don't always go hand in hand. I've had great accomplishments in my career, from founding and developing Tesla and SpaceX to creating products that changed entire industries. However, one thing I've realized more clearly than ever is that success, no matter how big, is not the key factor to true happiness. Happiness doesn't come from achievements or possessions. It comes from the relationships, the genuine connections you build in life. When I started SpaceX, no one thought we could succeed. No one believed we could send people into space or put our spacecraft into orbit with lower costs. Throughout the early years, I faced countless failures, doubts from all sides, and many times I felt like giving up. But I realized that if I only sought satisfaction from big successes, I would miss something far more important: the connection with those around me and the sense of belonging to a purpose greater than myself. Every success, big or small, involves the contributions of many people around you. The team members in the company, family, friends, all those who shared in the difficulties and challenges. I couldn't have built those great companies without their help and support. The truth is, the connection and relationship with those around me helped me maintain my spirit and motivation in the hardest times. When I look back at my journey, I realize that true happiness doesn't come from achieving great accomplishments, but from being able to share those moments with the people I trust and love. The connection, whether with colleagues, friends, or family, always brings me a sense of fulfillment, a feeling that what I'm doing has meaning. I don't just work for personal goals, but for a larger vision, a bigger purpose, to help change the world and bring value to the community. One important lesson I've learned throughout working with Tesla and SpaceX is that happiness doesn't come from creating a great product or reaching major milestones. True happiness comes from connecting with those around you, sharing and learning from them. The world can't change if we focus only on ourselves. Every innovation, every lasting success comes from human relationships. These connections not only bring material support, but also spiritual support. They help you feel that you're not alone, that you can overcome any difficulty with the help of those around you. I will never forget the people who have been by my side since the beginning. When everything seemed to be at a standstill, when SpaceX and Tesla faced unimaginable challenges, it was the connection with my teammates, friends, and those who believed in me that helped me maintain my faith and continue to fight. Simple conversations, sharing goals, and challenges in life helped me not only overcome obstacles, but also see that, whether we succeeded or not, these relationships were the greatest value I gained. Happiness doesn't come from what you can do alone, but from creating and maintaining strong connections with those around you. These connections help you grow, help you see the world from a broader perspective, and help you feel that life has meaning. The key is to understand that, in every journey, no one walks alone. You need the help and support of others to build a better world together. When you have genuine relationships, you don't need to wait for success to feel happy. Happiness starts with those relationships, with simple conversations, and with the moments you spend with the important people in your life. We can't control everything in life, but we can control how we treat others and how we build those relationships. And when you do that, you'll realize that the connection with others is the true source of real happiness. So don't just seek happiness in achievements in personal goals. True happiness comes from building solid relationships, from connecting and sharing life with those around you. When you feel connected, you'll realize that every success, whether small or large, becomes more meaningful. These relationships are the motivation that helps you overcome challenges, and they are the real source of happiness in life. Success is a journey, but happiness is not something you have to wait for until you achieve your goals. Happiness starts from connection. Spend time building relationships, connecting with the important people in your life, and you will see that happiness is not something you have to wait for, but something you can feel every day. Happiness is not a destination, but a reward you receive from the connections you build in your journey. Throughout my journey of building companies, from Tesla to SpaceX, one thing I realized is that happiness isn't the result of achieving perfection, but the ability to accept and change. Many of us have an image of a perfect life, a world without failure, without problems, only success and perfection. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. Things can always be improved, and true perfection is not something achievable in the real world. Instead, happiness comes from being able to accept imperfection and persistently change to improve yourself and your life. When I started SpaceX, no one believed we would succeed. Rockets exploded in our early tests, and we didn't have enough funding to continue. Everything was against us, and perfection didn't exist in that picture. But I didn't seek perfection in every step. I just needed to move forward, learn from mistakes, and improve little by little, accepting that failure is part of the process, and instead of panicking or quitting, I learned how to change, improve, and grow through each challenge. It was from this acceptance and ability to change that I found happiness in my work, even though not everything went as planned. One important thing I learned throughout my time working with Tesla is that not everything can be perfect immediately. The electric cars we produced weren't perfect at the start. We had to continuously improve technology, design, and manufacturing processes to create cars that were not only beautiful, but also safe and efficient. However, each step forward wasn't the result of a perfect design from the beginning, but thanks to accepting the initial flaws and committing to change for improvement. In life, we also tend to seek a perfect model. But what I realize is that perfection can be suffocating, and it is imperfection that drives us to change. True happiness comes from being able to live comfortably with imperfection and seeing it as an opportunity to improve. When you accept that nothing is absolute, you will feel freer to change and grow. A simple example of this is how we view failures. When you accept that failure is part of life, you no longer fear difficulties. Instead of seeing failure as something bad, you can see it as an opportunity to learn. Every failure helps you explore your limits, learn from mistakes, and move forward. What matters is not whether you fail, but how you rise after each fall and continue to improve. I used to worry a lot about failure, especially when the projects I was involved in had very high risk rates. But I soon realized that failure isn't the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing is when you don't learn anything from those failures, when you don't change to do better. It is from accepting that not everything will go according to plan, but you can learn from those mistakes, that I found freedom and happiness in my work. With each failure, I learned that perfection is never a destination, but a continuous process. What we call perfection can change over time. What you think is perfect today may not be right tomorrow. The world is constantly changing, and technology, especially in fields like ours, is constantly evolving. Therefore, seeking perfection is not only an unachievable goal, but also hinders creativity and innovation. Instead, focusing on improvement, accepting imperfection, and constantly changing is how you truly progress. Accepting imperfection also helps reduce anxiety and stress. When you no longer set high expectations for everything to be perfect, you'll feel lighter, freer, and achieve your goals more easily. Perfection is a distant concept that doesn't have a practical reality. It's the process of change, learning from mistakes, and improving every day that creates the difference in your life and work. I've learned that you don't need to wait for everything to be perfect to feel satisfied. You just need to accept where you are, and from there, change to move forward. Happiness isn't something you can achieve after completing a project or reaching a milestone. Happiness is when you can find satisfaction in the process, in accepting imperfection, and persevering through change. I didn't wait until everything was perfect to feel happy. Instead, I learned to accept each step, even if it wasn't perfect, and find contentment in making incremental improvements. The way I see life, not everything is easy, But when you understand that perfection is not a destination, but a continuous process, you'll see that life is more interesting. We can all change, learn, and grow. And it's this change, from accepting imperfection to continuous improvement, that's where true happiness begins.